Hello and welcome to At the 55, your home for OUA football. Me and Tom are back on the mics, kicking off our 2025 exit meeting interviews, where we do a year in review look at all the teams in the OUA. We have a special guest with us today to break down the Waterloo Warriors. Before we get to him, I gotta say, Tom, how the heck you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, my man. So happy to be back talking about U Sports football and with a outstanding human being here with the Waterloo Warriors. He's got a track record, so let me go through it. Two-time OUA All-Star, second team All-Canadian, and a team MVP in his playing days. And as a coach, a six-time Yates Cup champion and two-time Vanier Cup champion. He is the associate head coach and defensive coordinator for the Waterloo Warriors. Coach Kevin McNeil joins the podcast. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. I wish my wife was that excited to say my name. So, I'm doing good.
Well, we can clip that part and send it your way, coach. No, it really is a pleasure to have you on here. And, we were joking beforehand, if we really dove into every little bit of your resume, we'd be on here for too many hours to count. The one thing, though, because you're a London guy growing up and obviously you spent your time with Western, your last stint before making the move to Waterloo. Part of your journey, though, includes a stop playing with the London Beefeaters. And
Yeah.
the one thing I just want to ask about that before we dive into where you are now and some of the other aspects along the journey is it seems like the CJFL of recent years, the Beefeaters perhaps being as prominent as any program, obviously in St. Clair, what they're doing in the Essex area as well. It seems like CJFL has been a really growing force in terms of Canadian football, giving another outlet for players who maybe university isn't the route that they want to go to pursue their football dreams. What have you noticed just thinking about maybe your days rocking the Beefeaters colors to now having seen the progression of CGFL football to where it's at now, where we're seeing guys at CFL combines of all nature coming from CGFL programs?
Yeah, well, obviously, I think it's great. I love the connection with academics. I really like the association with colleges. A lot of schools, see that up in the Sioux and also at St. Clair, and I like to see the association with the academic side of it. But it was a great opportunity for me to kind of get my life in order before going to university and make some money and kind of go into school with a little bit of money in my pocket to help pay for it. Now, school was a little bit cheaper back then, but yeah, no, it's great to see, the league is just growing and growing and it's awesome to see the Beefeaters be successful. So
Awesome. We love to see it. Well, diving into your own coaching experience here as well, obviously being a part of that 2005 Vanier Cup team with the Laurier Golden Hawks is an incredible achievement of those guys and what they were able to do here. And in learning from those championship teams, bringing out your own style of how you do things. Zach and I always talk about the overload blitzes that you love to send, whether it's a half on the one side that gets all offensive linemen sweating bullets a little bit here. But going into your time specifically at the University of Guelph, because when I was playing at McMaster, my very first year starting was in 2014. You have guys like Jordan Thompson, Jeff Finley, Gravilovic was on that team there as well, John
yeah.
Rush, Curtis Newton, and you have those guys, and you're able to do a whole bunch of stuff with them where you have John Rush up as a rush end at one point. You go into a seven-man front, you go into a 50 front, and everything else. When you're going into defenses with a multitude of different fronts and settings, are you just basing that off of the talent that you have, off of the tenure that's there? What's your thought process when you're going into a team, especially like those Guelph teams where you had a stacked lineup of guys?
Well, like I would be remiss not to mention a story that Coach Conway told me about you and JT there for the Burlington Stampeders and pass rush drill with Coach McDonald, helping out and you know you, come JT comes up, I think he beats you outside, and then all of a sudden you're like, come on again, like it comes down, he beats you inside, and I think he said it took like about 5 minutes for you to be consoled to continue practice, Tom. So I'm sorry, man, I got to throw that out there, but you can blame Coach Conway for that one, but.
Oh,
Like it's different, opponent and the players and try to put them in spots to be successful is really at the end of the day, what we're trying to accomplish. And each opponent's a little bit different, but it's fun. I always try to build from a base of understanding where we want to be able to execute at a very high level. So I don't believe in just throwing a lot of stuff at the kids that they can't understand. I kind of was always a believer in install on Tuesday, subtract on Wednesday, and polish on Thursday was always my belief, and still is. And that's kind of that group. Guelph was really special. They could handle a lot. So we try to find ways to take complicated things and make them simple for them. So that way they look a lot more complex to our opponents, and that's kind of the trick to it, trying to achieve. But yeah, it was a special group, and they were able to handle a lot of different stuff, so it made it a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to have some words with Coach Conway after that story, but I'll be the first to tell you, JT ate my lunch money more than a few times when it made me a better O lineman.
Well, and obviously, as you mentioned, having the right guys in place to be able to run the things that you want to build towards are essential, and kind of to make our way into where you are right now. Part of your resume and a number of your stops, including where you are, is as a recruiting coordinator. So, as someone who has a vision of, okay, you're not going to throw everything at the kids day one, you're going to build towards it, but you're also playing a large role when you're going into those visits, when you're going to these OSFL high school games across the province, across the country. What sort of things do you have in mind? Obviously, there's the just on the field raw athleticism, the that guy's a dog, like all those things that like stand out. But from your vantage point, knowing that you're not just trying to get this person to your program because they are a top-notch recruit, but because you think they'll match the things that you want them to be able to do. What are some of those things that you look for when you're doing those visits?
Well, yeah, and I'll say, I have to shout out, the people that, I've been in a lot of great spots with a lot of great recruiters, and even I might have the title, it's a shared, all coaches are recruiting. If you're not recruiting, you're not winning, and so Todd Galloway at Guelph, obviously one of the best recruiters in the country, and Gaetan Richard at Western, one of the best recruiters in the country, and I'll say Coach Conway at Waterloo, one of the best recruiters in the country. So I've been fortunate to be with some great people. So and guys that want to work at it, and that's the reality of it. It's you got to roll up the sleeves and get some work in. But a lot of Zoom calls, a lot of Zoom calls. But yeah, no, it's I think when you look at recruiting, you look at it, I think a lot of times, the identification piece and then right into recruiting, and sometimes the qualification process gets missed, and that's one of the things I've learned over the years. You can't spend enough time qualifying, the student athletes you want to recruit. You really want to, for me, like I like recruiting guys that I want to coach. I want to get along with them, and that takes time to get to know each other, for them to get to know you, and for you to be your authentic self and see if it connects. And if it connects, great. If it doesn't, that's okay. And if they find a better connection somewhere else, that's where they should go. And I think qualifying, the type of person, the academic piece obviously has got to be the first and foremost. Does it make the most academic sense for them to go to the school that you're currently at? Is it important for them to stay home? Is it important for them to go away from home if they're in your city or outside your city? So those are the kind of things that the qualifying piece is so important. And I find that sometimes that gets missed. Sometimes we find a really just a great recruit. We want to recruit him, recruit him, recruit him. It's like, well, is it to that kid and that family's best interest to be at your school? And I think when you do that, you have to maybe go through some more recruits. But at the end, I think you get a group of players that are really happy to be there and connect with what you're doing as a program, wherever that program is. And that's obviously, I think, an important piece of success, is having people that are happy where they are.
Well, just as a quick follow-up on that, because Tom and I talk often about with schools like U of T and Queens, there's a bit of that known academic bar that perhaps is different from what other schools have to deal with. Waterloo, as far as an academic school, especially with some of those specialized programmings, engineering and whatnot, no doubt others that I'm not thinking off the top of my head. Waterloo's right up there as far as just an academic institution that people from all over the world want to clamor towards. As I said, we talk about this with U of T, about with Queens. How does that factor in where the school does have a big academic, precedent?
Well, you're getting high achiever kids, which is a good thing, and that's those are kind of kids that you can win with, and kind of kids that will stick it out, 4 or 5 years. So it makes recruiting, fun. But there's a variety of different programs and different entrance requirements for the different programs at Waterloo. But at the end of the day, you have to, we want kids with good grades. Every coach does, and you want them to be successful and you want them to do well where they're at. And I think that at the end of the day is more important than winning games. And we all want to win, but them getting their degrees is so much more important. So yeah, it's a high achieving school for sure. It's great. I think we have 40 academic All-Canadians. I think we're number one academic All-Canadian football program in Canada, I believe. And it's a great group to coach because they can handle a lot of systems, which is fun.
Mhm. And yeah, that's a hell of a thing to be able to say from that standpoint, not just having the prestigious academic resume that Waterloo has, but to also have the student athletes that are there to be a part of that. So I'm really curious. You come obviously from the Western Mustangs, you go into Waterloo, and when you're looking at this team specifically from a defensive side, obviously you're losing a few key players here, but you've got a guy like a Michael Omaseni who looks like he can really handle a lot, and there's a lot of really great pieces that are around him. But once again, there's a lot of youth, there's a lot of young guys, and there's a lot of things to kind of deal with there. So when you're somebody who, like yourself, has a list of experience and has, like I just mentioned, a lot of different variations on a lot of defenses that you're able to do, whether that's a 7-man front, 50, cover two, cover three, cover one, cover zero, all of that. When you walk into a space like this with a brand new program, with a lot of young guys here, but has a lot of upside and there's a lot of potential, what's your thought process going in there? Are you giving them the full playbook and then saying, this week we're going to focus on this and this? Or are you just saying, let's just worry about a 4-3 defense right now?
Well, at the beginning, I didn't give them full playbook. By the end of the season, we are pulling out all the stops. So there's still some stuff that we gotta go and do. But ultimately, we have to be better at our core stuff, and that's kind of that's on me to make sure that we do a great job of teaching that and putting our kids in spots to be successful. So yeah, we had to go into the rabbit hole a little bit, pulling out some stuff, but the kids, I tell you, they're a great young group. Very very happy to be coaching them. They work their tails off. You'll see it in the fourth quarter. No give up in the group. Doesn't matter what the score of the game. We're working. We're working, and the kids, believe and are working their tails off. And it's a pleasure to coach them. We got to do a better job, putting them in good spots to be successful.
One, Tom brought up Omaseni's name, and I think a player that kind of highlights what you were saying there, just from my familiarity, having been on a lot of those scout teams going up against your defenses our time in Guelph and just getting to enjoy it from the sidelines as well, is a guy like Anesu Latmore, where it felt like as the season progressed, this is a guy where, I don't know whether you call him a safety, a half, where exactly he slots in, but all of a sudden he's attacking quarterbacks left, right, and center. Tom alluded to some of those Will Half fires that used to bring in the day, those overload blitzes and such. You know, was that a product of opening up the playbook, having a veteran player like him who can understand taking on a bit of a bigger role? Because it did have that feeling, and I'm sure we'll make our way through these games shortly, and just how the season was a lot more competitive than a lot of people probably are gonna give the team credit for if they just look at the record. But is Latmore maybe an example of a guy who was able to let you get a little more creative?
Well, he's such a great kid. We moved him from field half to boundary half, and um, he's just so dynamic. And yeah, we kind of, well, let's see how he does with pressure. And all of a sudden, it's just like, man, this he's getting home a lot. Let's keep on. Let's play. It's funny. I think he led our team in sacks. I think the previous year probably led the team in interceptions. So it was kind of a bit of a shift for him, but he really did enjoy it. And when we needed a big play, he was our defensive MVP this past season. He just got that at our team gala. Tremendous young man. Great, very bright future in the CFL, but hopefully maybe one more year. But he's tremendous, and yeah, he was special. Yeah. Sometimes you don't know until you bring him a few times. It's like, okay, we can make some hay with this, and he was pretty good at timing those things out.
Yeah, I'd say he was pretty damn good as well. And especially with this team, and like kind of Zach alluded to, we'll start diving into some of the games here as well. But obviously, start off at the very beginning of the year, you lose that heartbreaker to U of T, and despite the fact that this season was 0-8, and obviously it's nowhere where you guys want to be, and there's a lot of potential, a lot of upside here, I'm still seeing this season and seeing your progression as getting better and better week by week by week. I don't think if you played those McMaster Marauders the week one versus where you did in October, I don't know if that game is as close as it is, but that game in particular to me really sticks out because while yes, you can say McMaster this year was very one-dimensional on offense, they still had one of the best passing attacks there, and you guys did a hell of a job really holding them into place. What does that progression to you look like from a defensive stance? Is that just purely like you said, oh yeah, we're going to go from a 4-3 to a 5-3-2 and these coverages in here and there? Or are you starting to see the kids really start to buy into your defensive schemes and your defensive philosophy as things are going on?
Well, the buy-in was pretty good from the beginning, and I think they needed some time to just to kind of see how it would go on game day, what kind of, how I go about just teaching on game day. And I'm not a big yeller on game day. It's not my kind of my way. I get after it more a little more in practice, but in game day it's about trying to calm them down and knowing that you have their back, and that if you want them to play reckless and without fear, they can't be constantly in fear. So I think it's important to they needed to gain that trust, and I thought they did, and obviously it kind of started to build from there. But yeah, I mean, it was a tough season and a lot of close games. So a couple weren't so close, but I think a lot of positivity to build on. And I think Coach Burt's done a tremendous job of just growing football and just being in a position where, the kids believe, and we have a great locker room culture. We got to get stronger. We have to get bigger and better. But like at the end of the day, we have a great young group that we can, you know, for me, the season kind of summed up like at certain times we were firing and the offense, wasn't, or the offense was firing, the defense wasn't, or a combination with special teams, and we got to really just learn to put all three together at the same time to get out some of those close losses.
Well, you mentioned Coach Bertoya's name, which I certainly want to know what it's like for you working with him. Obviously, you guys go back a ways, and you have that title of associate head coach. And I'm curious, sort of, what that lends you in terms of the responsibilities and how you two work it out. But you also mentioned the idea of, well, like all teams at this stage of the year, getting bigger, getting stronger, and that falls onto the shoulders, unless I'm missing something in the recent news, of a former player of yours, former teammate of mine, and Andrew Graham, who's in charge of the strength and conditioning side of things. So I want to know about the relationship with Bertoya, what that's been like, reuniting with him, and also having a guy like Andrew Graham in there, not just from the standpoint of that prior relationship, but somebody who has seen the pinnacle, or if not the pinnacle, close to the pinnacle of your system, your defenses working, and him being able to talk to guys and being able to say, if there's any part of you that doesn't think that this is going to work when we get it right. And if we look at the numbers from the time at Guelph when you first got there, like, it built, right? It wasn't right at the start a brick wall defense. It took a year or two, and then it was consistently top three defenses for a good chunk of time there. Just about the relationship with Bertoya and having someone like Andrew Graham where you have that relationship and he has seen firsthand those successes of your defense.
Well, yeah. So for Coach Burt, like he's such a great guy. You guys know that you've known him for a while, but I'm not sure if anyone really truly knows how great of a family man he is. He's a great husband and great father to his kids, and that really shows. And he cares about that with the coaching staff too. So tremendous dad, and I think that's something that gets missed sometimes when we're doing this stuff. But again, that creates that family environment within the program, and my job is to have his back. I've been doing this a long time. I'm very happy being defense coordinator. I'm not looking for the next position. If I do this for the next 20 years, I'm a happy camper, and so my job is to have his back and to support him, and obviously bring recruits and do all that stuff. But it's tremendous to get to work with them. We've coached against each other for a lot of years. We've recruited against each other for a lot of years. We always joke that, yeah, once we get together, we're going to make some hay, and it's starting to show. So he's tremendous, and I think we kind of made a bit of a shift this off season in terms of our strength conditioning, and to give Andrew Graham more time with the players doing a little. We've kind of dialed back the padded practice a little bit to kind of focus more on building ourselves up, strength wise, and not kind of tearing them down every week, by practicing. So that's been a great shift that Coach Burt, implemented with Coach Graham to kind of focus in on, hey, we got to get stronger. and we got to put more time into the weight room and allow Graham to do his thing in there, and he's getting some great results. So he's introduced a nutrition program. He's introduced, a power clean coach as well. So we have a specific coach who's coming in teaching our players how to, power clean correctly. And so there's some really good things that Graham's doing in there, and we're building the program, the off-season program, around ensuring that we're getting the most out of those lifts.
Yeah, that's outstanding. And when you look at this coaching staff that you guys have there, I think one of the big things that sticks out to me is just the culture piece. Way back in the day with myself when I was getting recruited, one of the reasons why I was seriously considering Western was because of Coach Bertoya while he was down there, because of the amazing person that he is. So I've got all of the respect in the world for the guy there. But even, I played with Coach Brendan Conway, as you alluded to, back in the Stamps days. I played against him when I was at McMaster and he was at Waterloo. And then you talk about guys like yourself and how people talk about you. So the culture piece of Waterloo, I think, is absolutely there. One of the most difficult things for a coach to really deal with is obviously having this losing season where you have so many games that are just by 2 points and that can drive you mad at times. And obviously, a game against Western that you like to forget about, certainly, but with somebody, when you have that culture that's there, what's the message to those kids after you come off a couple of tough losses like that? Is it purely, hey, let's get our heads back down, let's get back to work? Are you refocusing them? What does that look like when you're talking to the team in that sense?
Well, you always try to focus on the process, and that's like whether you're 8-0 or 0-8. You want the kids to just focus on the process and not focus on the results. Results come from doing a lot of the small things correctly over time, and I think that's the secret to success, and something that take some time to kind of stop. Don't worry about this stuff. Just put that aside. What are we doing? How are we practicing? How are we finishing? How are we pursuing? What are our core beliefs, and are we implementing them on a day-to-day basis? And I think when you make it about that, the results will speak for themselves. And so, that's always been my focus, is just focusing on ourselves and focus on what we have to do to be the very best defense on the field. And the score at the end of the day is the score, and it's not something that I put a lot of focus in on personally. I just put it on the process.
And partly though, why some of those scores are so tight is that, and Tom and I talked about this for a bit, is there seems to be a, darn near as much parity in the OUA these days as there's been, in the some 15 or so years since I've been a part of it, and Tom has been a part of it as players and sort of covering it from our vantage point.
Yeah, there's great
It,
coaches. Like the OUA is littered with great coaches, and everyone's working hard at recruiting. Like no one's just like there's no team not putting in the hours recruiting anymore like it was maybe 10, 20 years ago. But there's a ton of great coaches that are bought in, are working hard, and always coming up with new stuff. And it's a great conference. Great conference.
and we touted every single time nearly we come on a pod. It's the best conference U Sport has to offer. And you talk about those coaches, and it's hard to ignore, obviously, a lot of the new head coaches in places, but we've talked a lot about Greg Knox going to York, which has been a fun parallel for Tom and I, of course, with myself having to deal with Knox when he's with Mac, and Tom with yourself at Guelph, and those great battles we had in the early 2010s. But a new face as far as defensive coordinators, that not to move it away from Waterloo, but just momentarily, again, someone you're really close with Adam Grandy getting the defensive coordinator position at Hamilton. It hurts me to my core to unnecessarily bring up McMaster football, but I just got to ask you, because I got so much love for Grandy, and obviously you two have worked together for so long. What sort of thoughts, conversations have you had since that news was announced?
Well, it was one of those things that I wasn't sure he was going to take it. He's got a great setup there, and but I like just over the moon about it. So excited for him and his family, and he's wonderful. Like he's such a good coach. He was one of those guys that as soon as we started working together at Guelph, I was like, wow, like this guy gets it. And I think it was like maybe like within a few months of us working together, I was like, dude, you're the next DC here. Like, it's like, if I ever get the next job, man, you're the next DC. And that came to be, which was awesome down the road. But yeah, I know he's got such a great mind for coaching, and he's a great person. He's a great recruiter. And yeah, Matt got a great human being, and a great coach. Like I said, he is so sharp, great coach.
Yeah, I'd be lying if I as a McMaster alum didn't say I was very excited to get Coach Granny back in the building there for sure. So very much looking forward to that. And thank you so much, Zach, for thinking of the McMaster
Tom,
Marauders
this
and
is a
bringing that
Waterloo
up.
pod. Quit talking about Mac.
But getting our attention back to the Waterloo Warriors in here, when you're going up against, obviously, you've had some outstanding coachings. You've been a part of some outstanding coaching staffs, I should say, and some offensive coordinators that are there. Now that you're going up against Brendan Conway and his offense and practice a whole lot of the times here, it's another aspect and another avenue. And certainly seeing the progression of the offense from previously in 2023 being a very heavily run style offense to now getting into that more of a balanced look. Obviously, a couple of guys that play at quarterback there, some injuries to kind of deal with there, but still having something of a balanced look and a balanced offense. When you see the growth and the progression from the other side of the ball, what is your take on it? Are there a lot of things to be excited on that side, and not just the growth of the players, but the growth of Coach Conway as well?
Yeah, I joke around with Conway all the time. Like, I'm not sure if I know all the offensive players' names quite yet, but Coach Conway is tremendous. He does such a great job. Attention to detail, work ethic, camaraderie with the players. He just had I think 20 players over to his house for the football games yesterday, making them chicken wings. Like he is that guy, and just he's such such a pleasure to coach with every day. Just coming to work, it's a lot of fun, a lot of laughs. Yeah, tremendous, and yeah, he got to really put his stamp on the offense this past year, and he's just going to get better and better and better because he's a worker, he's a film watcher, and he's got a great attention to detail. So, you know he's going to keep on. He's going to be tremendous, man. He's going to keep on growing, and he's a future head coach. Down the road, he's so good at what he does.
Coach, last thing I want to ask you. Obviously, your track record includes your days playing at Laurier, the school down the street that's the reigning champ of the OUA. You're a London guy. Tom mentioned you're coming from that powerhouse, the Vanier Cup year about 4 years ago, all those Yates Cups. First year in the books at Waterloo. So I'm gonna ask you to put your recruiting coordinator hat on, coach, in the wake of such a rich OUA competition 1 through 11. What makes Waterloo the place to be for young football players, not just in Ontario, but tuning in from all across Canada?
I think it's a great school first and foremost. It's a #1 engineering school in Canada, and the math program is unreal. There's so many different programs. There's sport management. I think like the school itself sells. It's just such a great place to be a student, and I think that's the piece that when you really delve into the kind of education you get at Waterloo, coupled with it being the best co-op school in Canada. You get actual work experience, and we build our football program around our players doing co-op. A lot of our players, you know, they're working during the season, and they love it because it's like, oh, it's a lot less school. I do to my 9 to 5. I come to practice, so they love it. So the experiential learning, I think, is incredible. I think the opportunity to get that work experience and to go into the working world with something on your resume and being able to have that. Football is great, but only about 1% of our players, in the youth sports go on to the CFL. So there's a lot of players that go on to a career, and I think the best thing you can do as a student athlete is put yourself in a position to get in front of employers, which is what our co-op program does at Waterloo. So I think that the co-op program and the quality of programs are exceptional. Our facilities, Rolly Webster, our athletic director, has done a great job of building facilities. Where I think the biggest field house in the OUA and connected to our facilities. You guys have been there. I'm also been given permission to let you guys know a little scoop there that we will be hosting again next year. So we're excited to have you guys there and partner with you again for that event along with the Red Black. So the fact that we have all these events at our facilities kind of speak to the quality of our facilities and the experience that they have when they're there. So I think that really bodes well for our infrastructure and our school. And it's a football program that young guys have an opportunity to come in and compete to play early. And I think that's an exciting opportunity. Sorry, my stuff just went black there. Sorry. It's an incredible opportunity for young guys to come in kind of at the ground level. And we talk about all the time. You have your choice. You can jump on a bandwagon or build a bandwagon. And so come on, if you believe in what you can do as a player, come on over and let's build a bandwagon and get this thing going. So it's exciting. It's an exciting time to be a part of the program. Great young team, a lot of energy and a lot of hard work ahead of us. But I'm excited to see it get to the top.
We are as well. And one thing that I will say on the facilities that are there, obviously I had the privilege of being at the East West Bowl last year and seeing and talking to you folks and seeing all of the incredible athletes that are part of U Sports. And while they're on camera, you hear, oh yeah, it's been great here, whatever else. Sometimes there can be a couple words said here or there about something, but the overwhelming feeling that I got was kids looking around going, my God, could you imagine what we could do if we had this facility here right next to the field house connected into, oh my God. So to have that is a massive advantage here. And certainly, I know we briefly kind of mentioned it here, but having key guys like yourself, Coach Conway, Coach Bertoya, if there's one thing that you know for sure going into what happened last year and going into this year is that the culture on this team is going to be looked after. I don't think there's anything more important to Coach Bertoya than culture, and I think he has his guys in place for a very particular reason here. And there's a lot of reasons why people should be really excited about the Waterloo Warrior program and where this thing is going, because anybody who thinks there's just going to be another 0-8 season next year, you got something else coming for you. You're going to have a black and gold fist coming at you. I can guarantee you that. But just to build off of Zach's words there, what does the future of this kind of program look like? And if you're willing, and I'd love to hear it, if there's one or two players that you say, hey, I think you should watch out for this guy. He might be a young guy last year or this year, but I think he's really going to make a splash in the program.
Well, the guys that obviously had great years last year. Marcus Ola on the defense line really had a great season. Moved him to 3 tech, from an end, and he had a great season inside, and he's having a great off season. So look to him for sure. Michael Massini came in for an injured James Sinsberger there, and just absolutely stole the show. He was outstanding, and so he's in second year going to his third year. So that's impressive. And the secondary, a lot of them are going to be back. Isaiah Blackson and his brother Rasheem from transfer from a different university. Say which one, but no, they get some great kids. Some great young kids, and recruiting's gone really well. We're really excited. Emmett Ward, a quarterback from BC, coming on board, and great kid, and the future is very bright, and there's a lot of young kids that I think will make a lot of big plays for us. So.
Well, Coach, we can't wait to see it on the field in a short, math was never my strong suit, call it a rough 7 months time from now. He is the associate head coach, defensive coordinator, and recruiting coordinator for the Waterloo Warriors, Coach Kevin McNeil. Coach, thank you so much for joining us on. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for what you guys do.
Amazing. Well, me and Tom will be back doing another exit meeting for you next week, talking a little UFC football. So tune in right here at the 55.